You know what, my friends? The professional pro-life movement has a lot in common with Donald Trump. Notice I didn't say that the other way around. Leon Wolf at Red State again, who, just for the record, is young enough, barely young enough to be biologically my son. Definitely the figurative fruit don't fall far from the tree. Now, one of the things that's often said, speaking of, shall we say, progeny, reproduction, species propagation, one of the things that's often said about Donald Trump is that he is the type of person who was born on third base but thinks he got there by hitting a triple. The professional pro-life movement is a lot like that, except they have spent their whole existence repeatedly striking out. And now they are desperate to claim that they are standing on third base with Trump. Note that I am not talking in this video about everyday pro-lifers. I'm talking about the nonprofit organizations who have become excellent at milking honest donors for money, delivering nothing in return, and then trying to pretend that they have been tremendously successful. Note, I want to single out Americans United for Life here because they are often the best pro-life organization out there. I've seen no evidence that they have taken any stance supporting Trump, and they appear to be sitting the general election out. If so, good for them. Now, I feel like I'm on the record enough about this issue that I can speak honestly about the movement's failures without having my motivations questioned. Well, lots of luck with that, my boy. Pretty much the whole, in other words, if you don't support Trump, you're for abortion on demand! Even though the opposite is true. Pretty much the whole reason that Leon Wolf got into politics in the first place was because he's a pro-lifer. The main reason he is stuck with the Republican Party through betrayal after betrayal is because of the abortion issue. There's a reason that Trump's defenders come back again and again to the Supreme Court as a justification for supporting Trump. The same Trump that's going to put his sister, the pro-abortion, pro-partial birth abortion zealot, Marianne Trump Berry, to say nothing of Peter Thiel, the openly homosexual CEO of PayPal in the Supreme Court, as we discussed in a video the other day. They know what a powerful siren call the Supreme Court argument usually is for conservatives. Their assumption is that we will continue to be suckers forever. And why not? We have been for 43 years. Personally, Leon Wolf has reached the point where he's fed up with these organizations. They have been, by and large, total failures in holding politicians accountable. When is the last time you can recall that a pro-life group claimed the scalp of any of the dozens, if not hundreds, of Republicans who have betrayed the pro-life cause over the years? It has not happened. It does not happen. And evidently it will never happen. That's not to say it doesn't happen on other issues, with other groups. In recent history, the Club for Growth and the Koch brothers and their organizations have defeated Republicans like Renee Elmers, who crossed them. The immigration hardliners took out Eric Cantor. The Chamber of Commerce took out Tim Huliskamp for the agriculture subsidy lobby and the squishes, and so on and so on. None of these groups have won every election they have played in, but Republicans who are thinking of bucking these groups at least have to look over their shoulder before doing so. Now, why do you think Republicans in the House turned an absolute gimme issue with the 20-week abortion ban into an absolute PR debacle that set the whole pro-life movement back, even before they hopped aboard the Trump train.
Come on! Nice and easy! Don't look down! That's it! You're doing fine!
Sorry, it's been a while since I plugged that into one of these videos. I just couldn't resist. I'm sentimental like that. Because they knew that after screwing up and flubbing the abortion issue in every possible way, when they finally passed a watered-down version of the bill that they knew would get vetoed, pro-life organizations would praise them for doing so like hapless, poorly trained seals. And when they let the bill die with absolutely no political consequence for Democrats, pro-life organizations would do nothing other than getting pledges from Republicans to do better next time. Never mind that abortion is not a federal issue, constitutionally speaking. Renee Elmers and Marsha Blackburn, who spearheaded the public embarrassment of pro-lifers, were passed over. Elmers was taken out by Koch and the Club for Growth, and Marsha Blackburn continues to sail uncontested through every election, just like she is a conservative warrior in good standing. The point is, these organizations are all carrot and no stick. They're happy to go out and encourage people to elect more Republicans, vote Republican for president in particular. Meanwhile, 7 of the 9 judges who decided Roe v. Wade were appointed by Republicans. Roe v. Wade would not have survived throughout all these years without Justices O'Connor, Kennedy, and Souter, all nominated by Republicans and confirmed with the unanimous consent of Senate Republicans. At no point has anyone ever paid a political price for this. So, pro-life organizations set their sights on a series of incremental legislative changes to the abortion regime at the state level, which is where they should be focusing their attention, which have systematically been thrown out by judges who were appointed and confirmed by Republicans, and again, no one has paid a political price for any of this. You could hardly ask for a more useful set of stooges for the Republican, or rather the Trumplican National Committee. Here is how sad the situation is, ladies and gentlemen. The Club for Growth and the Koch network both have a lot of donors who are pressuring them to get involved in the general and support Trump. They are refusing. Huzzah! Feeling that Trump is not enough aligned with their principles to be worth helping. Huzzah! Meanwhile, the pro-life suckers have jumped in to help Trump with both feet. The fiscal conservatives have shown more principles than the pro-lifers, and the pro-lifers are the ones who pretend to follow an objective standard. Now, I don't know what it is about these groups that makes them totally unable to state the obvious. The pro-lifers are being played for suckers by the GOP, which has no intention of ever allowing Roe v. Wade to be overturned. After all, if it were, how would they scare the evangelicals into voting for the Donald Trumps of the future? The professional pro-life organizations are too scared to say this and to admit that everything they've done for the last 40 years to this point, 43 years, has been an abject failure because doing so might cause their donor money to dry up. So they continue to play the willing sucker again and again, and at no point has it been more evident that with their embrace of Trump this year. Trump, for those who might not remember, is the only candidate in this race who has paid for an abortion. He has praised Planned Parenthood repeatedly throughout the course of this very campaign. His 7 different attempts to answer a question on whether he would support criminally punishing a woman who had an abortion probably set the cause back another decade, because he clearly has no idea how to even properly sound like a pro-lifer. And I haven't even gotten into the fact that Trump was an open and avowed pro-aborter until, I don't know, 2012. And that all of the people he surrounds himself with, including his kids, are pro-abortion liberals, just like their father. I mean, if you believe that Trump has actual pro-life principles, or that he will honor any sort of pledge to only appoint pro-life justices, then you have to be one of the most monumental suckers who have ever lived. I really and truly mean that. I mean, it would be one thing if we as a movement had not been repeatedly stabbed in the back by Republicans who promised the same thing to win our votes, but we have over and over and over. There comes a point when even an exceptionally stupid animal, like a sheep, will learn to avoid its master if its master keeps kicking it in the face, or somewhere more sensitive, every single day. Which means that the sheep is a better critical thinker than most of the professional pro-life organizations, such as the Susan B. Anthony list, among others. And that will, and already has, generated angry emails and tweets from people who have spent their careers in and around the professional pro-life movement asking, "How dare you attack a good, solid conservative?" Well, anybody who supports, or could conceivably support Donald Trump, is not a good, solid conservative. Here are our credentials on this matter. As you can see, we have repeatedly published Susan B. Anthony List's work and promoted it to the front page. Leon Hunt is referring to Red State here. Every time that they were asked. Leon Hunt has personally and repeatedly praised Susan B. Anthony List's work and encourage people to donate to them. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that lending the credibility that pro-life organizations have earned to an obvious fraud like Donald Trump is anything but a sucker's move. I don't have donors who I have to constantly convince that I'm generating awesome successes. The only thing I have an obligation to say is my honest opinion. And my honest opinion is that the professional pro-lifers are embarrassing themselves right now by pretending that Donald bleeping Trump, of all people, is going to be different from the backstabbing Republicans who came before him. Now, will there ever come a point, and I do mean literally ever, when the professional pro-life organizations throw up their hands and say, you know what? We're sick of being played for fools by the Republican Party. They must be actually opposed until they change their ways. And if that day is ever supposed to come, why not now? If the Trump farce isn't enough to make them say no mas, then what will be? I guess it makes sense that these groups are falling in line for Trump because they do have a lot in common, and not in a good way. They both spent most of their existence frittering away other people's money on projects that were often failures, yet claiming all the while that they are the biggest success stories ever. They can't admit to defeat, disappointment, or the fact that they have ever been deceived or duped by anyone because they both perceive that this would be fatal to their ability to find new people to give them money in the future. In a lot of ways, they really were made for each other. You know, the sad thing is that every day pro-lifers are left with the realization that there is no one who is even marginally effective, who is in their corner, or who is fighting a meaningful battle for the unborn in D.C., or rather state capitals around the country where the battle belongs. The battle is not being fought. It is described, it is promised, but the actual fight does not happen. Which is, as Donald Trump would say, sad.